Okay, so let me repeat that one more time. We're going to talk templates today. Just showing off the new templatings that's available. It's really the old template, but what it looks like now in the new site and or the new version of the site. And there's a couple new features, but then there may be things you don't really know about templates and where you can use it. So hopefully it will be informational for you. So I'm going to jump into SAM and hide some things. Templates are found as SAM leads. Generally for SAM leads, you can actually give a permission to another user to access templates. So it could be something that everybody can do, but like building reports or like building anything in the site, if you have a lot of hands in the kitchen, you're gonna have a lot of stuff going on. So maybe controlling it to the communications team or things like that may be more suitable for your organization. But it is possible to give access, and folks who have access to templates will see a little widget for templates under settings. When you jump into this, this gives you a list of all of your enabled templates, but really all templates are enabled or you delete them. There is not actually a way to disable a template. You should really just let it go. I mean, right, like a lot of emails that we have. So from the sidebar, you can create new templates. There are default font settings. This is really nice to set up. So if you choose Arial or Times New Roman or any of these as your primary fonts, you're not able to, well, from the default font properties, there's not a super extensive list. This is the list that you can see, but choosing something that's similar to what your team uses, unless one of these are it, setting the font size in whatever color. And the color, I did notice this today. It's like RBG or RGB, HSL or hex. Yeah, so you kind of can decide on color. Ooh, I don't know what these are called. I don't know if Kelly, you know the technical name of the color types. I don't, of how you distinguish that specific color, but either way you can sort through. And then once you've set it, pop back into templates. There is also report styles on the sidebar. Report styles are they define the styling for any reports that may be pulled onto a template. So if you were providing an email to your families that say, here's a list of expiring documents, or here's your training schedule that's required for licensing, or here's a post-adoption report, or if we did a print template for like a service plan and you're pulling in the medications and the last exams and the team members that are working on it, you might use a report for that. It kind of depends on how much data you're pulling. But when you can set those report styles. Now, this is a part that takes a little more technical expertise because you will need to write HTML. So you could ring us if you need assistance on that. It's set up like a list. And when you pop in, I think I really generally use this default and then make changes to, do we want different border spacing or font spacing? It lines it out to all the different options that are available and includes, if there are no records presented with that within that report that's pulled onto the template, you can tell it what to include instead. So none is set as the default, but you could certainly say there are no records for this, whatever it is. This no records message will be for every report. So it won't be able to say you have no training due. It will be you have no records available here. And then maybe your auto actions filter that out itself, or however you're sending that to not actually send somebody something that doesn't have anything. But in some situations, it's applicable, like when agencies may send a template that like a statement, a monthly statement after for invoicing for foster care. They may not have had any respite that month, or maybe not have had any additional expenses that are provided to the family. things like that. Okay, once you're here, other things that you can do is, there are lots of templates here, lots and lots, and sometimes people name them things that make sense only to the user who created that. So you might look and do some searches on templates based on the table that template is built off of. So if we're looking for things around the home study or templates around post-adoption reports, I can pull that and see what we've got available built into the system so far. You can also do it by field. You're going to have a lot more fields, so knowing a little bit about your table structure is helpful. And again, as I kind of generally say, the tables in SAM are built for adoption and foster care agencies, so the terminology should feel familiar to your team. And everybody on the call here today is a SAM lead, so you may have even been the user who actually built the table and described it in and of itself. So the other thing that we can see on this page is the template name, so I can access it. We're also displaying the subject line if that is more telling to you of what template you're looking for. Because I mean, we often get support tickets that just say this template doesn't work or something like that, or this email didn't go out right. And the only thing that we have to go off of is the actual subject line that's being forwarded to us. So it's a way to assist in finding that. Sometimes, like on this one, there is no subject line, and that means no subject line was entered when we entered the name. And the last thing, I did notice we have a misspelling here, but all of the auto actions that are pulling this specific template. And so something like Pardue, you could almost have 2 and 3 template or auto actions associated with a particular template. And that would be like, we're reminding the family a week before the template is due. We're reminding them day of that it's due. Something like that. Like you can reuse the same template for multiple auto actions. And so with that, I will actually even describe, why do you care about templates and what are they even doing for you? The template provides a really like a consistent professional message. It is also going to save your team loads of time copying, pasting from, I think people tend to have like Word documents of all their written templates, or really just even writing out the message. So even, if you're giving a very similar message at different stages of your process, having a template pre-written so your team doesn't have to start from scratch every time and like pull their signature line and stuff in, is going to save, minutes, shave off minutes here and there from toggling between your email, any of these other templates outside of SAM you may have, and it's ready to go and written for you. Templates can be used throughout the system in lots of different ways. So generally you are using a template to send an email, or you might have templates for printing the application, printing service plans, printing post-adoption reports, things that you need to actually extract out of the system, have signed. Those, you can create templates for that. We have a template pulling together the entire home study, so a templated version, and it really is dependent upon what information you actually input into SAM. But because so much information on the home study is actually retrieved from an application form, you have a huge leg up already. There are other places though that you can use templates. You might use templates on checklists to give more information to the user who's accessing it. And when I say user, I really mean the end user. So like a family in this case, you can actually connect a template to the top of a checklist section that would allow them to have links to external resources they need, other of your web pages. I've definitely seen people give links direct to trainings. You could have your logo in there, or I've seen people put just different images that attract a user further down the checklist, to kind of give them some designation of where they are. So you could use it for that. And on the checklist section, you've got this spot for end user settings where you could give it a different name than, internally we might just call this the domestic application checklist, but here we're giving it a different name. You could add instructions or the template as we're talking about. And I'm pretty sure, I would really need to test it, but I'm pretty sure that you can do the section memo and the section template, like they both show up if you wanted that. Let's see, I'm actually just get out of here. Templates can also be added to the top of forms. So if you jump in, I have seen templates be added to the top of cover pages to help designate a different case program a little more clearly than the case program field, where there's a real, like an image, a fairly large image. It could be added, let's pull this here, to the top of subforms in order for you to, again, give more information to your users or end users like your families or volunteers that use SAM through public forums, to give them more information or resource links, again, things that are going to be helpful for them. You can add templates when you're on Form Customizer under Advanced Options, Advanced Form Properties. I believe you actually have 2 spaces to add templates. You can add them to the top or to the bottom. And right now in this section, I'm going to scroll down. There is messaging, basic form messaging, text at the top, or a template for the header. And so again, you're just popping in, choosing the template that you want, and the options that match whatever you're writing or have written show up. This type of field, you can also, if you don't remember the name, show it in alphabetical order and start moving through. You can also add a template at the bottom of the footer. And if I jump really quick over to form properties, now you can go to a subform. Let's say we were looking at this one. Yeah, advanced options, advanced form properties. I believe you've got the messaging here as well. So it can show up even, right? A subform is not the primary form that you're using. So it's embedded within another form. You could have messaging further down. So a good example of this that I've seen on a public form, or I think we may even use this, is in the case checklist. Is like giving families information about expiring documents, or their training, right? Is going in and having it displayed in training, what training resources you can provide to them, or how do they access the training. I'm seeing very extensive templates on forms. So there's just, it's really up to you guys of getting creative and what kind of things do you want to relay to your families, especially if families say, I don't understand how to enter this. That is a great opportunity to provide more information. This is opportunity to provide a link to a video or an image that's set as a link to a video that'll help them navigate further forward. So templates are actually pretty cool. I think the other place that you can connect a template to would also be on a form. So I'll jump back last spot to put it on. I see this on sometimes on cover pages. It could be on other forms around, but you can actually link a template on the sidebar. And so if you're regularly printing a template out, you can link Let me see. I was just going to see, do I have something? I don't have anything here, but if I added a link, let's call it the application approved email template. You can choose an icon for it. I will often choose print for this to keep it fairly similar, but I'll put the light bulb in here. And then instead of linking to a form or a report, you can link to a template and then you've got your choices. Right here, the templates are going to be filtered down, I believe, to the type of table that template is built off of. But it actually may be everything under that main entity because I'm seeing par due date schedule. So let's put in this, save, and take a look at what that looks like. I'm trying to think of who is a domestic family with the name by test. I'm always going to go to Barry. That's their international, but here is a domestic cover page. Down at the bottom, I've got my application approved template down here. And then it's ready to go. And so from here, I can actually print or email this out, and it's just going to prepare it for us. So that's a really useful tool for sure for printing, and it looks nice. It's a way to just get the template or the printout, like especially of application forms, done quickly. So there's some setup to templates, and that's what we'll talk about now. So under settings, there's this widget called templates. And then I'm going to jump first into this email and talk about the tools, and then we'll go through creating a new one. At the very top right now of the system, you can open a random record, and this is going to show you what this template looks like once it's ready to go. So you can kind of have the two screens open. You could certainly use them side by side. Sam is dynamic with this template building. So as you make and save a change on the template, you refresh the page here in this print display, and it's going to show you the changes in real time. You can modify the template name. I think that's fairly self-explanatory, but I'll jump into it because you have also the subject line is where you're going to set that here. But you also have a memo. So a lot of organizations that we work with have been using SAM for many years. What you built 10 years ago, good luck on any of us remembering what that is. So adding some kind of template of why your team is building this will help you when later you may have collected 1,000 templates and it's time to like clean up some things. That along with the auto actions it's linked to will give you some additional insights of why your team uses it, but a memo is really helpful. You can also copy the template. So if you're making a series of emails, like a, what are they called? Like a marketing campaign where, you know, somebody inquires and then you're doing an immediate response and then a follow-up a week later and 2 and 3 and 8 months later, whatever kind of time frame you put on that campaign, you might copy the template so your team can just modify the messaging instead of rebuilding from scratch the template all the time. It is nice. I actually, oh, do I have it? Yeah. In our version of SAM, so we actually use SAM to work some of InReach Solutions messaging as well. I have this template that we update fairly frequently when we're sending out messaging. So I've got it set the way that works for us. And then I just enter in information, save it, send it out. And then I come back to it when I'm ready to do another message later. So I'm not actually creating new templates all the time. So I don't have this robust number of templates. We're just using the messaging. One thing we have not tested and we're not sure. Yeah, if you use a template like this, and you set up a bulk email. We're pretty sure that bulk email has to go and be completely sent before you should start changing the messaging. So I think it is a dynamic. We probably need to do a test to just super verify that, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. So if you have a long series, or you're sending, a bulk email and you need to just go ahead and get another one, that would be a good opportunity to copy and create a new template. Then from the old version of SAM and then the new version of SAM, there's this insert from SAM. And when you click it, it drops down a lot of things that you can actually add to this template so that your team does not need to go and copy and paste the names or copy and paste specific dates or other information into a templated message all the time. SAM you set it up once, so right, it might take a little bit on the initial setup, but forever and always after, you don't have to be pulling this. So you end up saving time. And it's a return on your investment once you have this set up. So you can insert fields. I've got a couple of examples here where I'm pulling this case application approved date because that's the conversation I'm having in this template, the naming structure that I want, the caseworker that's associated. But maybe I want to put this, try and enter in a subject line. I'm thinking, who else? If I've got the caseworker already, maybe I'm going to put in, I don't know if I have an inquiry specialist. So when I click it, I'm going to put my cursor in the right spot that I want this field to set up at. I'm going to select the table. I will see if I don't have an inquiry specialist, but I can stick in any field that makes sense here, pop it in. I am able to set styling by hovering over. If you lose this for any reason, it'll no longer pull the field, right? On either side, I'm pretty sure it needs those brackets around. So you'll want to keep that to make sure that it shows up. I don't know if you notice here, but there is an empty space right here where the case application approved date is set up to be. But this particular family doesn't have that date filled in, so there's not going to be anything in there. That's what's going on with an empty space. So you'll want to make sure that this template makes sense to go out once all those fields on the client's record are actually entered. Otherwise, it's going to be a little funny looking if the recipient didn't have this information. So just be mindful when you're setting up of what information gets pulled and ensuring that that information is entered on the client record prior to sending out the template. So that's inserting a field. When you're here, there's only a select number of tables. There's a select tables that you set up when you're creating the new template, or you can add additional tables to it. One thing that I do see sometimes is agencies will have too many tables on it. And then the system is processing all of that. So it's like trying to grab data that is not really relevant to the template communication that's being sent. So narrowing down what is the purpose of this template, again, setting up that template memo will help kind of remind you why you're even doing this and why this existed in the first place. Insert all fields from form, I think, is probably underused. We use it when we're building templates for people generally. Generally, it'll be around, like service plans or the application form. Now, when it says all the fields from a form, you'll choose the form. So we could choose the application. Actually, let's go with this with the cover page, because I think that'll be clear. If I put in all the fields from the domestic family cover page, it's going to get everything above subforms. It's not going to get each of your individual subforms because those might be based on completely different tables. So you'd be creating either new templates to add onto this template or reports that are pulled onto this template to display that information. But it'll be your primary form that you're selecting. You can use the table format. It's not my favorite. I like a little more control with how to build the table or not. And depending on how you've structured your fields and from what form are you pulling, you could use public form field titles so that it will say, how do you feel about, living with this child over the last month versus 1 month, an internal field name of 1 month check-in details, something like that, so that other people can understand that information you're requesting and what that field is really about better than an internal form name. And sometimes we'll build internal form names, form names, field titles, so that they're condensed when you guys are looking at that information on internal forms. And it literally just depends on what is of interest, because sometimes that entire question is the field title in and of itself. And so, yeah, but you've got those two choices. When I press save, it's going to pop literally all of those fields in. So even if I only need to use a subset of these fields, I still don't have to go and make 5 clicks to pull the 5 fields. So now I can literally say, yeah, this information does not make sense to share on this particular template. And I am still able to go in format using the tools that are available. Well, I'm hotkeying Control B to bold that. So I can still format this though. And I am able to format through this toolbar up here, as well as if you know hotkeys, like Control I is the italicized, Control U is the underline. I have no idea what the strike through is because I don't really use that very often, but Control B for bold, and that's what's going on there. And you're able to make space. I often will pull it out like this and then create a table so that I can control the table, the width of the columns and things that we want to set it up the way I prefer it rather than the way this template sets it up. But I find that particularly efficient to get all of that information in rather quickly. And if I press save, of course, I have no idea what this, there's a communication field right here. So I'm going to pop that out. So I kind of like that this gave this. It won't work because I didn't actually add family communication table onto this template. That's what this error is. And it's telling you what it is here. It's red to make it scary, to let you know, not going to work, but it's not that scary. Some of the technical error details may be a little bit much, but you're always welcome to then copy the link, right? By clicking up in the URL, hitting create a ticket and send us some information and say, hey, what's going on? If it's too technical to understand, we're happy to help navigate that with you. I believe if I just knock this out of here though and resave, it will go back. Oh, well, I don't also have the adoption field. So you're going to want to make sure, that's probably all of this bit. I bet I don't have the home city either. So let me just make this all super clean and make that go away. Beautiful, right? So as soon as the template is formatted the way it's expecting, you can do that. Because that was a big warning and stuff, let's talk about how you can solve that issue. Under advanced options, there's tables on template. And I believe right here, nope, doesn't tell you there. So the tables on template, pop in here. If it were based on a multi-record table like communications or post-adoption reports or home studies, that's going to be listed up at the top. And then you can add other tables onto it. By and large, if you are emailing, you're going to have the case, child case, foster family case, birth mother case on the template as well. So that, because generally that's the table that houses who you are potentially wanting to communicate to, like the caseworker, or any other professional roles you may have established as records on that client record. So I can pop in more detail, but again, it really should not look like this. It really shouldn't, unless you are pulling data from those different fields. If I had saved or wanted to maintain the home study and the adoption, I would have maybe kept adoption current latest. I may have had to, if I really want adoption and I really am looking to show all adoptions, I might really have to pull in a new template that is based on adoptions, not the current latest, because the current latest is going to show you one record set however your settings are here. And the home study latest would be the same thing. It would show you literally one record and what is the value for that particular field on that table that is again based on how you set up the current table. Okay, I don't need any of this stuff, so I'm going to go back. I'm going to leave it, and we'll continue talking about what else is available under insert from Sam. You can insert an image. I kind of think that's self-explanatory, but all of them are going to pop up these boxes. You'll choose your image. You do not have like a library, so it's just like of images previously used. It is going to be an image that you're uploading from your computer. You can insert your logo now, so that we like, it's the logo that is pushed up here that you inserted, I believe, because this is so much larger, it shows up as the logo size that we uploaded here. If you want to change the logo size, because that's a bit big for me, you can put in a width. There is this lock that'll keep the aspect or the ratio of it consistent. If you unlock it, it's all game and it can be skewed. So, you know, you'll want to use those tools and test around with the tools to see what you actually like. I never really tried adding a border or space or alignment or anything like that. We can try. So I guess we're only given left and right, but I'll stick it there. And so, right, a couple of things, depending on what your goal is for the image, you've got some different tools within that to play with. I'm not really talking about this, but shift end, delete. Oh, that's weird. I may have to actually click on it and delete it if I no longer actually wanted that to be there. Because that highlight wasn't really working. Insert form link. This is really useful. Actually, I think it's useful for all emails now. It's not going to make sense if you're printing an email or printing a template, because it's going to be a link, and if the print is not going to be linkable, except if you're making it a PDF. It very well may continue to be a link to a particular form. I will pop in here, give me some space so we can see it. The insert a form link. I'm given internal forms. There's a lot. Oh, wait. And public forms. So as a way to actually provide links to your families to the public form, this is a new feature that was added into this current version, because you used to kind of have to go to, well, you didn't kind of have to, you had to go to settings and forms and choose your form and open it up and grab the link. Now it's just here. So we're looking for ways for sure to make life easier for you. And this will give you that link there. It is typed in. You know, again, you get to set formatting it, things like that. And if I press save And look at that, print. Here, we've got the link. If I pop in, it's going to take me, should be taking me to the login screen. So let's just double check where that even, yeah, it's as though I'm actually logged in, but I am logged in. So your families would actually encounter the login screen. They're not just going to be taken right in here unless it were like an inquiry form where you don't have login required on it. So that's quick. It's really nice. Again, we see it when you're connecting to the internal forms, when you're taking your team to the post-adoption report that was just submitted by a family, or the family case checklist, or you're taking the family to the cover page. One thing to note, if you build a template off a multi-record table, right now, Sam, when you click form link, it's only going to give you internal forms that are based on that multi-record template. We've got a ticket upcoming before the end of the summer for sure. It should be done to add going back to these cover pages. So if somebody does a post-adoption report, but your team doesn't happen to have a view form of post-adoption reports for some reason, and you don't want to take them there because maybe your team members are more comfortable always going to the cover page and then navigating from there, we'll be able to set that. Always taking them to the cover page, which is nice. So that's up and coming. The other things that you can do is a document link. So this is, I'm trying to think. You could use this for emails for sure when you're sending families like, here's our program schedule, or here's our fee schedule, and here's the document that we're just sending that information off to you. You could totally do that. I think you would use this if you added this template to a checklist section header or a form header. Again, if you're trying to give the family some specific instructions on their training requirements or background check requirements, kind of the wild ways of the many 50 different ways that we can do background checks in the United States, giving them more specific instructions around their specific state. We've seen that. So we can upload a document. This is going to be something from your, I'm just going to stick this in there because I was playing with that yesterday. Something from your local drive. This is our school reference form. And press save. I will go back here. So let me do this, save this. We'll look at it. We'll come over here and refresh. We've got it. And this is literally downloading a reference form that was shared with us yesterday for this organization. So it opens right up. What else on this? Oh, right here. I want to not really skip over the messaging that's here. You absolutely should not share. This is not a spot for absolutely not any protected health information. It would really be a violation. This template, if used in a public setting, like on a checklist or a public form, becomes public. So you do not share the documents here. This is really your things that you would post on your website, right? Anything that's there, yes, go. And it's also not specific to a particular client record. So it's not that client record school reference form, it's the templated school reference form. Okay, so just want to make that super clear because you do not want to share sensitive information this way. It does go into, I believe it's even in a different spot because it's allowed to be shared. So it literally would be open to the internet and somebody to find it if you added somebody's medical document here. You do not want to do that, or any other confidential information that they have. Let's see. If you happen to use the survey module, you can insert a survey link. You would have to have a survey previously built in the system for it to be there, but then all your different surveys are available here. Oh, there's your test, David, I guess, assuming that's you. And you can stick that in as well and press save. Again, if I refresh this screen, we'll get the survey link. It should be taking us, I would think, I mean, I don't know how this is particularly set up, but I would assume it's taking you right to the survey, which it is. If you go, surveys have a setting where you can set it to be only shared by that specific entity. So as an example, you may have an agency feedback form post-adoption. And you set up your survey so that it can only be entered once by that specific entity. You can still pull the link like that, but the only way to actually get that email to the family is to set it up, I believe, through an auto action is what the rules are. It's making me curious whether or not the system would know if you sent that template direct from them. But I think I'm pretty positive that the support guide says specific to specifically built from an auto action. So you'd have to link that template that we're building to an auto action that when the adoption finalized date is entered, the email goes direct out to the family that says, hey, can you give our agency a review? But sometimes the surveys are open-ended, so anybody can just enter information and you'd be able to stick them in. And then the last thing here is insert multi-record section. So let me see. We will go about it trying to go through 2 ways. Let me check my time. Always running up against, there's so many tools in here. So this is, let me go stop here. You've got 2 choices once you get in here. You can literally give them a report. So the report has to be built before. Same thing if we built a multi-record template. It's got to be built before, otherwise the option's not going to be here. You're not able to build it here as well. So it's just opening a new tab, building it out, which we'll do here in a second to show you the difference in how these things look. Let's go with adoptions all, okay? Yeah, that'll work. So however the report is set up, it's going to be displayed here. Now you don't get to see it here. It just shows this field. And press save. I have no idea if this family has an adoption, so we'll just refresh, see what happens. They do not. It says none. So kind of weird that it would just say none right here, right? So you will definitely want to title things of all of your adoptions with our agency, something like that, right? Again, really good for putting out a post-adoption report schedule, a training schedule, a fee schedule, different team members, things like that. Different, if you're building a home study template, who are all the people who live in the home? What are their ages, etc. like that. Let me also grab, so where do I want to go? I want to go to a family that has an adoption. Nope. Let's go to this. Child adoption should get me to a family that has an adoption so I can pull that specific family. Current adopted family. Let's go here. Filter out. Blank. Great. Okay. So Lucy, I'm going to go to the templates. Oh, this is the application approved template. It's not telling me that, but here. And there's a significant number of fields on this report, but this person has this one child that's being adopted and the information's here. So we're given only so much space on the template that we've got. So you will have to kind of manipulate how your template is set up. I believe this particular template, you can see it when we're in here. there's a high level of margin on both sides. If you open it up, it's going to spread out. If you keep it closed in, it's going to do that. And I believe that we wrote HTML to get the messaging to be more centered. That is by default, you're going to be very much on the left-hand side of the screen here. So it would spread out. I don't need this one anymore. This also happens to show all these totals, which in this case maybe doesn't make sense. I don't think I would send it like that, but also you may not need to send every bit of information. It's really just dependent on your needs. The one thing that's missing from this report, if you remember, there was, it actually is taken out birth mom name and birth father name too. And I'm not 100% why on those. Child arrived home date. Oh, I'm sorry, because that's not the report. This is not the report. So let me go here. This is the report we're pulling. I went to a different report. So you can amend your report. I use the report name that's included right here, right? It's the report that we pulled. I'm just using the browser's find function, pasting it in. This is the report. If I go in and change fields, so right, birth mother name and father name is not on here, and maybe I'm extracting, maybe I don't need to show so much of it, it's going to spread out with the space that we provided. The one field that it's not showing is family name, and it's not showing that because we're writing it to the family, right? So it's kind of, it would just have their name again, which is kind of weird. So that is a default. And I don't think it's even a setting that can be changed, is whoever the entity type, that's just not pulling on the report, which allows you to use that report for various purposes, but then on the template, it extracts it because that information isn't really as necessary here. As I make changes to this report, like removing a lot of this stuff, because it doesn't make sense here, that should reflect in here as well. And this totals, I'm not, there might be some other setting on that field that's totaling that up. And that's why that's showing. But we might also build, like, perhaps the information that you've got, you're like, yeah, I like all of this. Or maybe you are pulling case notes or the last 30 days of communication records onto a template. The body message generally is lots of paragraphs. It is not going to look good in this format. So you would want a template report for that. And so we'll go and build another template based off, in this case, adoptions. So here I'm going to actually start a new one. I like to title things like template for application approved email. And this is adoption info. I don't need a subject line, and save. Put it based on the family. I'm going to set it's as a multi-record table now, and I'm putting it on adoptions. I'll generally, again, choose the case because sometimes I'm pulling case detailed information from there. And then I get to set up how I want this form to look. So quickly, I'm going to grab all fields from the adoption details. Let's look at this format just so you can see. I think it's harder to navigate this, so that's not my preference. I'm actually going to press Control Z. I don't know how to use that well enough to like it, but I'm going to pull all the adoption details fields. I'll get to choose things that I want to keep. Maybe I don't want any of this. I don't want any of this bit here. Get rid of that. I do want our adoption memo because I want you to see if there's something longer there. Let's say I'll get out all of this timing. And then here I might insert a horizontal row. so that when one rolls out, we're now not seeing, we get some kind of deviation in the line or sorry, between adoption records. And I can press save. And now if I go over, where's my template? Here we go. We'll adoptions from template. So we can see that we'll insert from Sam, a multi-record section. We're going to choose that. Oh, goodness. Oh, I called it this. Here we go. Template for the adoptions. It just looks like a link as well. I'll press save. And then I don't need that or that. I need this one. Does that have... It's not showing the same data. I'm betting there's something around this template. That will pull funny. It's always something doing this live. Gets me every time. Is there stuff? This family supposedly has this adoption on. Oh, no, I'm looking at the wrong. I want to say I'm looking at the wrong family, but it's not. It's that Lucy Hendricks. I need to look into why that is not showing. It should be saying here, Bella, but it's the same information, but then in a different format. Really, this is good for longer paragraph type bits of information. You do have some styling, setting fonts. If you do a copy from Word, there is formatting and stuff on how you set up that Word document that gets carried over, and it doesn't like to play nicely between a word processing program and a web facing processing program. So trimming out the HTML and rebuilding it here is going to be a better step for you, but it can get a lot of information in. We do a lot of copying from other things. You can delete the template, look at history. We talked about tables on template. Sometimes Sam will give weird errors around it. This troubleshoot fields on template will help you pinpoint what is the field that's causing the issue. And then you do have this formatting here. We opted to not have an insert link anymore under insert from Sam so there's one single spot. So it is really small. I don't know if y'all can see that. I don't even think making my screen bigger made that larger, but it is there to add a link, and it hovers. If you are an HTML guru, you're also welcome to look at the source and go pinpoint stuff. It's coding, so you got to feel comfortable with this. Clicking source again will take you back. I happen to use tables a lot. The horizontal line, sometimes I'll add emojis or whatever in here, and I guess you get a few that you get to choose from. And often for templates where you have a print, I will pull or add page breaks so that things have natural page breaks, so that, you know, part of your information's not at the bottom of one page and the rest of the actual details at the bottom, things like that. So you can get headers. This link here will pop it out so you can see full screen if you prefer that view. And then your template detail accordion also gives you the information. You can click here and links to auto actions. So you can actually click in, look at the auto action. Does this make sense anymore? I would say no. And so you can disable or deal with your auto action the way that you need, but see when does that get triggered. All right. That's what I got. That was 55 minutes on templates. Does anybody have any questions about templates, or have you used it in any interesting ways that maybe I did not describe. Okay. Well, this recording will be added to our webinars section in the support guides. We will continue our SAM talks over the coming months. There are 2 different topics later on this month. I believe next Wednesday and the Wednesday after, we're going to be talking about reports, and then we will talk about SAM lead roles and things that your team does, or SAM leads do, that differs from your users, and maybe how to organize things differently. All of the recordings, again, are up on the webinars page, and you'll get the email the first of the month and date of to join us. We appreciate your time. And should you have questions that may come later, you're welcome to let us know. But I appreciate you joining in. And with that, I'm going to stop the recording. Okay. Bye, Carrie. Thanks for joining.
Thank you. It's helpful.
Good, good, sweet. I am glad. Oops, let me close this.